Tonight we have got some breaking news from Brussels. India has hit out at the European Union for what it calls a double standard on Russia. The EU is, of course, on one side cheering America for sending weapons to Ukraine, on the other side imposing an oil embargo on Russia. Both these decisions have been criticized by India. First, let's talk about the weapons. Tonight, a top EU official admitted that some European weapons landed with organized crime groups. And guess where those weapons landed? In Ukraine. The admission came from the EU's anti-fraud office during a hearing in the European Parliament. An official admitted that some weapons meant for Ukraine ended up with criminals. European lawmakers were told that there are indications that some weapons intended for Ukraine ended up with organized crime groups in the region. How many weapons were sent? We don't know. How much of it ended up with criminals? Again, no clarity. But the fact is some weapons did land with criminals, and this admission has exposed the hypocrisy of the West. I'll tell you why. The US is sending lethal weapons to Ukraine, and they're doing it openly, no secrecy about it. Even Congress has approved a $61 billion weapons package for Ukraine, so there is no hiding what America is doing. European countries to have announced individual packages. Britain, for example, has pledged £1 billion in military aid. Germany has pledged €5 billion. France is supplying light armored vehicles and artillery. All of this is okay, it's all above board. But where is the accountability? Why is no one tracking these weapons? If the US can send weapons to Ukraine without any strings attached, why can't the EU track them? Why can't they find out where exactly these weapons are being used? Hypocrisy number 1, hypocrisy number 2, the oil embargo. India has repeatedly said that the focus should be on reducing dependence on Russian oil, not an outright ban. And tonight, India has hit out at the European Union for what it calls a double standard on Russia. India's Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas has released this statement. It says India's total imports of crude and petroleum products from Russia was around $35 billion in 2021. What about the EU? The statement says the EU purchased Russian crude and products worth €500 billion last year. This is more than 14 times India's purchases. If the EU can purchase Russian oil worth €500 billion, why can't India? That's the question India is asking, and rightly so. Today, Europe is heavily dependent on Russian energy. Around 40% of natural gas and 27% of crude oil comes from Russia. So the embargo is hurting Europe more than it is hurting Russia. According to one estimate, every week that the EU keeps buying Russian oil, they're giving Putin €700 million every week. And this money is being used to buy more weapons to kill Ukrainians. So where is the logic in continuing to buy Russian oil? The fact is there isn't any. The EU is sacrificing itself on the altar of political correctness. They read cheering America's military aid to Ukraine while turning a blind eye to the fact that some of those weapons ended up with criminals. They're imposing an embargo on Russian oil while buying Russian gas worth billions of euros. The EU must come clean on both counts. Either beef up security to track the weapons or stop pretending to punish Russia.